The Yeagerists and the Alliance are the two prominent players that are going to decide the fate of the world of Attack on Titan. They play two vital roles that are opposing each other, and either side will bring world peace regardless of the cost. This video will discuss the ideologies of the Yeagerists, the ideologies of the Alliance, their major players, and are their solutions viable and which side is indeed correct. Let's get into the video, gents. Let's start off with the big boys. Let's start right off with the Yeagerists. The two main players that are in the Yeagerists, the main character erenyeager and floch Forster. These two characters and their ideology that they follow is much more nationalistic and somewhat supporting of their race. These two people care deeply about the Eldian people and are willing to do whatever it takes to ensure their protection regardless of the cost. Their ideology is that the people of the world hate Eldia, and that hate is absolutely never going to dissipate, no matter what happens. Eldians that are living in the Internment Zone have spent their entire lives trying to work for it and trying to work to try and attain peace and humanity within Mali. Over all those years, that hate still has not dissipated, and they are still treated like second-class citizens. Erenyeager on his trip to Mali was able to see this firsthand and was able to understand how deep-seated the hatred for Eldians truly is. So the goal of the Eldians, or the Yeagerists in this case, is to use the power of the rumbling to destroy the rest of the world to ensure the protection of the Eldians residing in Paradise Island. This is a very, very grim solution to a very, very serious problem. But at the very same time, you can't be mad at it. This solution is going to bring definite peace, but at a very, very high cost. They're willing to destroy the majority of humanity to ensure peace and prosperity for the nation of Paradise Island. The ideology is that there's no way to find true peace. Even if we can find somewhat peace and use the rumbling to protect ourselves, what's stopping them from annihilating or massacring the Eldian people later once their power of the Titans is no longer useful? And this is an issue that Mali was actually beginning to realize in the beginning of the brand new arc after the time skip. They were beginning to realize that the power of the Titans is no longer absolute. They are being defeated by human technology. And think about it. Once nuclear weapons are implemented into the world, and considering the world of Attack on Titan is about the time in perhaps around World War II, the atom bomb is going to completely make the Titans and the power of the Titans completely redundant. They're of course going to be still somewhat effective depending on the situation, but after the implementation of atom bombs, it's only a matter of time, because before Mali has absolutely no use for the Eldian people. So what's going to happen next? After Mali no longer has use for the Eldian people, what do you think they're going to do with them? They're a threat if they remain there and they're no longer useful. My only solution to that problem would be genocide. In my personal opinion, if you look at the world objectively and you look at it as cruel and cold, which is something that Attack on Titan constantly reminds us, genocide and the annihilation of the Eldian people is inevitable if the rest of the world isn't annihilated, because that hate's going nowhere. And not just hate, let's be honest. These guys are a constant threat. Being able to turn into a 10 foot, 12, or however foot tall Titan is a threat that can definitely not be alleviated unless you get rid of the people. So, the solution of the Yeagerists, let's just get rid of the entire world, because clearly the problem isn't going to be solved, and that hate ain't going nowhere soon. So, that is the thoughts of the Yeagerists. They're willing to do whatever it takes to reach their goals and to ensure the protection of the Eldian people on Paradise Island. Now for the alliance. This consists of Mikasa, Armin, Levi, Hanj, Rainer, Annie, and Falco and Gabby. All of these people have come together for one common goal: to stop the rumbling. This ideology and this group is far more idealistic, and I'd definitely describe the Yeagerists as more realistic in their approach, while definitely colder, but the truth tends to be cold. The truth hurts, and the things you have to do to achieve those ends sometimes are cruel. The alliance is definitely consisting of the old ideology of the scouts. They want freedom, they want peace, they want happiness, and they want to explore. They're definitely kind in terms of their disposition, but I'll be honest, considering their actions in the final arc, they definitely can be cruel in order to go for the more, how do I put it, the greater good. They're willing to kill their own brethren in order to protect the entire world. Now, their ideology is that they want to stop the rumbling at any costs. While they definitely do believe and understand that the world has a strong hatred for the Eldian people, they still believe or want to find some other way to find world peace and peace between Eldians and the rest of the world. They definitely recognize the power of the Titans as a necessary and powerful military weapon, but they don't want the entire world to still be scared of them. They don't want the entire world to continue to hate them, and they want to promote the idea that we can work together and find peace if we work hard and work together. Them working with the volunteers, air quotes, that they had stolen from Mali to work alongside each other is just a testament to that. They thought that, hey, we've built a relationship with these Malians and we're working together and they're living together, and they're finally beginning to understand that we are humans too. We have the ability to turn into Titans, but we're still humans like everybody else. There are good people and bad people inside and outside of the walls. That's something that they want the world to understand. Now, their goal of working together as the Alliance is to stop erenjaeger from completely annihilating the entire world. While I definitely do think what they're doing is interesting, the people that are part of the Alliance definitely have conflicting goals. Not necessarily conflicting, but maybe they have different motivations to the others. Rainer, Annie, and the other Malians, or honorary Malians to be more specific, these people are fighting against Eren because they want to protect their home, they want to protect the world, they want to save the world. I'll be honest with you, I personally think that the people, the Malians, have an ideology similar to that of Eren. They're fighting hard to protect their home and their people because unfortunately a casualty of the Yeagerists succeeding is the death of everyone in the internment zone and a destruction of their entire home and everything that they know. But on the other side, the scouts are fighting for peace. They're fighting for a more idealistic world where all of us can work together. They're looking for another way. This is definitely an interesting ideology, and I'll be honest with you. Looking at this from the scout's perspective, what is the more morally correct solution is definitely them. It's the Alliance. Genocide cannot be justified regardless of the circumstances. It is inherently bad. But looking at this from the Eldian perspective, looking at this from the Yeager's perspective, looking at this from erenjaeger's perspective, there's no other way. It's kill or be killed. So they're fighting against Eren and want him to stop, and it seems they're even willing to kill Eren to find their ends. Now, for me personally, I've read the manga, and I have a complete understanding of how that panned out. And like the rest of the manga community, I definitely have serious issues with how it all panned out in the end. So now that we've considered the two ideologies, the Yeagerists are fighting for the Eldian people of paradise. They have a much more realistic approach, but it's far colder, and they're willing to sacrifice billions in order to achieve their goals. The Alliance, I believe, definitely a faction of them, definitely do have selfish ideals, but the overall themes for them is to push for peace and to try and find a different way of achieving world peace, and for Eldians and Marlians and everybody else to finally get along. The morally correct side, with air quotes of course, because they commit quite some atrocities. Not on the same level as the Yeagerists, but they definitely do kill people. Consider the scene when they're trying to get on the ship and escape to try and fight Eren. They kill their very own countrymen, which, if you look at it from their perspective, they were just simply protecting their home from people who want to destroy it. The rumbling secures the protection of Paradise Island, and the Alliance are willing to sacrifice that guaranteed protection for peace. Definitely more idealistic. Whether it's more feasible is a completely different discussion. Now let's consider that. We've considered both ideologies, so which ideology is correct and which one is actually going to work? Now, I'm assuming that the people that are still watching this video are individuals who have not yet found out about the ending of Attack on Titan, and I'm interested to see how all you anime onlys are going to react to that very, very inflammatory ending, depending on your perspective. Now, which solution is more feasible? If one side wins, what are going to be the consequences? And if another side wins, what are going to be the consequences? If the Yeagerists win, the consequences are very dire. It is a genocide on great, ridiculously huge proportions. Millions, billions of people are going to be completely annihilated. Ecosystems will cease to exist, with Paradise Island being the only hospitable place on Earth for the next 100 of years. We talk about the rumbling being absolutely monstrous to human life, but let's consider the ecosystems, bro. It's going to take years for the ecosystems, for the trees, for the rivers, for the oceans, for everything to recover after the Titans have ravaged the entire terrain. And of course, from a human perspective, everyone will be annihilated. But the world will essentially start from scratch, and everyone else who will continue to be born will be Eldian. This solution is absolutely cruel, but it is absolute. As I said before, from Eren's perspective, it's kill or be killed, and I personally agree with that. Either side needs to win for true peace to be attained. Now, people can argue, there'll be division and there'll be many, many issues on Paradise Island. That is indeed the truth, but freedom will be secured. Peace will be secured. They will no longer have to fret about them being annihilated by some outside nation who hates Eldians and their powers. They will no longer have to deal with that, and the people will have complete freedom to choose their own fates. And that is what the Yeagerists, Erenyeager, and Floch Foster are fighting for. I'm not saying that Floch is a great leader or he's a great guy. I'm not saying any of that. I don't particularly even think Floch is a great person in a sense, but I think he is realistic and he's willing to fight and die for the people and the nation that he loves oh so dear. Now, as I said, if the Yeagerists win, it's going to be absolute destruction, and it will be an absolute win for the island of paradise. Is that morally correct? Absolutely not, because a huge amount of life has been sacrificed. Now, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but sacrificing the lives of a few for many is horrible, but I think it's still viable. Rather sacrifice less people so more people can live. You don't want to place one group of people's lives above others, but if we're trying to determine this morally, which is the most better or improved moral decision, it's definitely sacrificing less lives than sacrificing more. Now, if the Alliance were to win, this goes into a very interesting conversation. If Erenyeager were to be defeated, the consequences are very interesting. But in my personal opinion, if we use deduction and problem solving, I still think their situation is going to be dire. But not for the rest of the world, but for the Eldian race. In my personal opinion, let's say they were to succeed. Erenjaeger is defeated, floch is defeated, every single nationalist or Yeagerist is defeated, and peace, or temporary peace, is achieved as Eldians and Malians have worked together to save the world. This propaganda will definitely improve the situation, and for a time there may be a semblance of peace. But in my personal opinion, I think the Eldian Empire and their power and what their ancestors did is too much and far too vast an emotional weight, an issue for the entire world to simply just toss that to the side. And what Eren did to Wuli Taiba definitely didn't help them in that case. I think that, let's be positive. Let's say the Eldians are able to secure 5 years of peace. Maybe the internment zone gets demolished and perhaps they start to even commingle. Wouldn't that be great? But this is what I will absolutely say. Once the Eldians no longer are useful, they definitely will be annihilated. Next 5 years, the Eldians and the power of the Titans is still useful. They use that to conquer other nations and continue with their military pursuits. As soon as the atom bomb and nuclear weapons are introduced into the playing field, Titans are definitely much less of a valuable playing card. From that point onwards, I think they will launch the attack to begin the genocide and massacre of the Eldian people. They're far too risky, far too volatile, far too much history has happened between us. We don't even like them anyway. I think over time, the Malian people will send a coup and send in people to go ahead and annihilate every single Eldian person that is in Mali, in the internment zone, and eventually they're just going to drop nukes on Paradise Island and completely annihilate them. I'm telling you, people are cruel. This world is cruel. That is a theme that is constantly perpetuated in Attack on Titan. While the Alliance's goals are noble, I still think that humans are cruel. Humans don't forget, and people can definitely hold a grudge. If I'm ever in the presence of somebody who is stronger than me or somebody that's armed, I'm never comfortable. I'm on edge. Even if I'm in the presence of a police officer, for example, I understand that that person has been instructed and has been assigned to keep the peace within people, but I am not comfortable being in the midst of someone who has the ability to kill me with the press of a button. But in this case, it's just by breaking the layer of your skin, exposing blood, and you can turn into titans. A very serious and deadly weapon, and not just that, if they don't have the power of the Titan, they can still be turned into normal Titan through the use of the Beast Titan or the Founder. That's just too much of a military threat that we as a nation cannot fully control. It's better to not have that problem at all than to be dealing with them and trying to constantly keep and tightening the chain. It's not going to work. There will come a time where Eldians will want freedom and want to do their own thing. Mali needs to keep that foot on their necks, ultimately. And the best way to do that is honestly just to snuff them out. So, tell me your thoughts down there in the comments. I've said my piece. I've spoken about the various ideologies we have here and the various ends of each side winning. I think it's best, absolutely best, at the end of it all, if one side wins. And by this, I'm actually not even talking about the alliance. I think the best solution for everyone is either if the Yeagerists win or the Malians win. One side needs to be eradicated for true peace to be attained, whether that's the small amount of Eldians or it's the entire world, because this hate is never going away. As long as people remember what used to be, they'll never be appreciative of what is. Shout out to Thanos. And that's facts, especially in this situation. People will always remember, and people will always be uncomfortable of a threat. And that's just how humans are. Cruel, scared creatures. We can be feeble at times, but harsh and hard. So, those are my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts down there in the comments. Who do you think is actually correct? Which solution is possible? And as Hansh, insinuated, and as Eren begged and asked her as he chained her up and pulled her towards the bars, is there another way? What other way is there? And I want you guys to comment that down in the comments. As I've already said in the video, the only way to genuinely achieve true peace is if either side wins. Even if the alliance wins, they're still gonna be killed at the end of the day, and that's my insinuation. So, do you have another way, as Eren begged Hanj for? Is there another way, as Armin continuously asked for? Is there another way to achieve peace? I think not. But what are your thoughts down there in the comments? Let me know. Let's have a discussion. I'm interested to see your replies, and I will be in these comments to see your thoughts. Take it easy, gents.